As we work our way through July, the crops are coming along, and Josh, things are looking green in the crop world.
Yep. We're looking pretty good as far as a lot of our summer crops go. But I have to say it, just like I've said it all year long, is things are still pretty spotty. We do have our spots of the state where we are looking less good, if you will, you know, to where things just aren't as green and as perky as we'd like to see. But for a bulk majority of the state, we're looking pretty good.
What are we looking for in the sorghum crops this time of year?
Well, you know, with the good conditions, with everything looking good, that also brought challenges. And we talked earlier this year about weeds and how big of a challenge that was going to be, and it turned out that it was. And now we're talking about bugs, about insect pressure this late in the season.
What kind of insect pressure are we seeing on these plants?
Well, right here we actually have a spot that it's got pretty good worm pressure.
Right.
And what we're seeing throughout this is whether it be a fall armyworm or corn earworm, we're starting to see a pretty good buildup, and we can see that they're taking to some of these heads of the sorghum plant pretty well. And so what these little things do is they'll actually go and start eating the grain as it's in that what we call milk or a soft dough, you know, something that they can go actually bite into and kind of chew up. That's what they'll be doing, and that's what we'll see around the majority of the state. And then what growers can do is, if they are in that after anthesis, but before we get to that more hard dough stage, growers can go and look at that little mess that we see right there on that flag leaf. Well, you see those little white specks, well, that's them eating that grain. And so what you can see is, if you go through and you have something that looks along like that, or if you have something that the flag leaf here doesn't seem like it's doing, if you rip this back, we got a worm right there. Right. And so if you take a look at some of these, Dave, you're gonna find quite a bit of worms in through here, and they will do some damage because they're actually eating our finished product. So we need to make sure that we're ahead of the curve on them.
Out here at the Perkins Research Station, we have the sorghum, but you also have some trials on soybean. You want to go take a look?
That'll be good.
Yep. So the soybeans are actually looking pretty good this time of year.
Yeah, it's really odd to see some of our drier areas of the state really producing some really nice looking soybean that we have here. But kind of like what we were talking about with the sorghum, we're kind of at this stage, and so our pest management's probably our number one concern here.
What are we seeing as far as pests go in the soybeans?
The big thing with soybean is, depending on what stage you are, our pests are a little bit different. The insect pressure is alive and well, and we're having actually quite a bit of stink bugs start building up. So we have an egg set here that is actually hatched. They've flown out. They're kind of in this world now. So really big this year. We found a lot of them last year. Really big thing that's limiting a lot of our soybean yields, we do believe, is just stink bug pressure and growers not getting on those stink bugs. The most difficult thing is finding them. Those, you know, get a good sweep net out or a drop cloth and actually get into and find those, because once we actually get them, identification is pretty good. Most of the time they're going to be what we call southern greens, and our threshold for southern greens is quite high in soybean. The soybean plant can take quite a bit of a beating on those, but what we need to do is make sure that we see when they're there and start treating when they getting at that threshold.
Okay, thank you much, Josh Lofton, Cropping Systems Specialist here at Oklahoma State University.